so last but not least, we're going to make our scarf, and it is probably the easiest out of the three items that we've made today. All we're going to do is we're going to take our fleece, fold it in half just like it comes off the bolt when you buy it, and all you need for this is you need a 1/4 yard or 9 inches. I don't usually like to make my scarves much wider than 9 inches, but you can. I've made them as wide as 12. But for this, I think we're just going to stick with 9. And we're going to measure out 9 inches and then mark it. And then we're going to go down here to our other end. We're going to measure out 9 inches and a little mark. And then we're going to connect our 2 dots. Remember, the distance between 2 points is a straight line. Our little geometry lesson for you today. We're just going to make our nice straight line-ish. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so now we're going to cut that out. So now we have our piece that is the entire width of the fabric and 9 inches wide. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off this little selvage. Just doesn't look very pretty. So we're just going to trim that off. And those get thrown away. And now what we're going to do is we are going to use our solid. You could do 2 prints if you wanted. You could do 2 of the same. I usually like to do a print and a solid. I just think it looks prettier, but it is really up to you. It is your preference. And now to make our lives easier so we don't have to do a bunch of measuring again, I'm just gonna lay this piece we just cut out on top of our solid piece. Make sure that it's straight on both ends. And like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're just going to cut that out. Work smarter, not harder. That's a big motto for me. And then we're going to do just like we did with that other piece. And we're going to trim off this selvage. All right, now we have our 2 pieces. All right, now that we have both of our pieces cut out, what we're going to do is we're going to unfold both of the pieces so we have the whole length of the fabric. And then what we're going to do is we are going to try to find the center as close as possible, and then we are going to pin all the way down the center of our fleece, because that's where we're going to sew. We're going to take a big long stitch and we're going to go all the way down till we get to the end. All right, so for this last step, sewing step, what we're gonna do is we are going to sew, we're gonna change our stitch. We've been using a straight stitch this whole time for all of our other pieces. And for this time, we're going to be using a zigzag. So I've already adjusted my machine to be a zigzag. Everybody's machine's different, so I placed mine on zigzag. And what we're gonna do is, like I said, we're gonna find the middle, or as close to the middle as you can. And we are just going to take a nice, we're going to do a zigzag stitch all the way down. Now I just made my stitch length a little longer because it was getting a little bit cumbersome. So I just made my stitch length a little longer. You can leave it. If you don't feel comfortable adjusting your stitch length, then you can leave it. And my hands are just making sure that it's staying in a straight line, it's not pushing it or pulling it. And then we cut that off. All right, so now we're on to our last step, which is the fringing. All right, so our last step is that we are going to make, we're gonna fringe the edges. So basically what we're gonna do is I usually do about 2 fingers width, and we are just gonna cut it. And you don't wanna go quite to the middle. You can go a little bit farther than, or cut it a little bit farther apart than I did. But we're just gonna do that all the way down, so it's gonna be a minute. And this also doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exactly 2 fingers the entire way down. If your hand gets tired, take a break. This is why you have to have really sharp scissors. All right, so now we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other side. I'm using my other cut that I made as my reference. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, there we go. You kind of give it a little shake, and it's just a really cute, nice little fringed scarf. And now that we have all 3 of our pieces done, we have our scarf and our matching fingerless gloves, and you have a really nice, easy, homemade Christmas gift. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have a great day and happy holidays.